Man United lost 6 defeat in 10 games. There's a
Yeah.
lot of United fans online today, understandably calling for the manager's head, calling for him to be sacked, calling him to be removed. Players like Bruno and Rashford, again, rightfully being heavily criticised for lackluster performances. Before we get into the sacking side of things, which does feel like it's becoming ever more a pressing matter, what do you think is wrong with Man United? Why 6 defeats in 10 games for a team that have spent 200 million this summer and who won 73% of their matches last season? Why has it gone so horribly wrong this time around?
I think that whatever Man United do, and again, listen, from an outsider's point of view, whatever I see Man United do, it always seems to be a plaster over surgery. And I feel that this is bigger than a manager. I feel this is bigger than a squad. Your club is just one of the teams at the top that have no direction. So you can go out and buy a few players, get a manager in who's going to get a bounce, have a decent season like you had last year for Man United. Let's be fair, it's not a great season because you are Man United. You're expected to challenge for titles, etc. But I don't know if there's a plan. Like I watch United play. I don't see any plan on the pitch. I look at the types of players you buy, and it feels like it's very much in the moment. It doesn't feel like it's part of a longer term strategy. It doesn't feel like you're ever building for the future. I'm not saying any of them. Obviously, people like Højlund, but it just feels very much like we're papering over cracks with Man United, right? It's Amrabat's coming on loan, and Casemiro at his age came in, and Varane at the end of his career. And I don't know. I just feel like you need a proper director of football with a proper scouting network, and that will actually go out and buy players that they can mould and grow and do what Klopp did at Liverpool, what Pep Guardiola's done at City, what Arteta, to a lesser degree, has done at Arsenal. But it's not right. And this is not the Man United I grew up knowing. This isn't the Man United I knew. There was always a plan. So for me, yeah, you can sack the manager. And I do think, yeah, there's a great shout for him to be sacked, Terry. There is. Of course there is. You can't lose 6 of your opening 10 games at Man United. But if you just sack the manager and nothing else changes, you're literally jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. You're literally, do you know what I mean? You're doing it again. You need a director of football to come in with this on the same page as the manager and go, right, what's our next 4 to 5 windows look like? Not who are we going to plug a gap with now?
Mate, I agree with so much of that. And I want to start by saying the manager deserves to be criticised for issues with his team. For instance, starting Bruno and Rashford when they're both playing poorly. He's on the manager and he should be criticised, no doubt. I think Amrabat's very quickly got found out as a central midfielder playing at left back. First game got away with it, got exposed a little bit against Palace at the weekend. Last night, caught out for both goals. Mm-hmm. And I don't really blame the player because that's not his position, but the manager hasn't recognised this. So there's definite criticism there. Equally, you criticise players, Onana's mistakes, Rashford's awful performances as of late, Bruno's unimpactful performances. That all needs to be criticised.
Yeah.
But what you've said there, I made a note of it, buying for the moment. This has been Man United's problem for the last 10 years. We're always buying for the moment because we never have a clear plan as a football club. And I still don't believe that the way Ten Hag is, we know that the way Ten Hag's trying to build isn't in conjunction with a football club. And we learned this in the summer because all the leaks have come out that the recruitment team and Ten Hag are not agreeing on the types of player. And the players are not the same profile, but different names. They're completely different types of football players. The fact that the club wanted us to go and buy Pau Torres and he wanted Lisandro Martinez, they're not the same type of central defender. I don't think that Rabiot and Casemiro are the same type of midfield players, as an example. He wanted Amrabat this summer. They wanted Rabiot. Again, very different profile of player. They play very differently. So you're absolutely right. And this is where Man United fans, again, criticize the manager. No issue with it. Again, go for the players.
Yep.
I think where my frustration lies is that we are as fans, we've become so one-dimensional with our football club. Everything is about low-hanging fruit. What's a quick win? A quick win would be, let's get rid of De Gea and Maguire. Remember, that was going to fix us. Getting rid of Pogba, that will fix us. Kicking Sancho out the squad, that will fix us. And again, it's different silos of fans that say this. Mentioned Pogba already. We had it with Fellaini, Rooney being over the hill, cleverly, Welbeck not being good enough. You know, Chicharito's not a footballer, he's too much. 10 years been going on.
Yeah.
every time, the biggest Ten Hag outers right now that everybody's saying to me, bruv, you need to go and watch their content. They're so right. They've been calling this for weeks. These were the same people, I believe, who said that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's squad with a half-decent football coach, and they included Ten Hag in this, would walk or win, depending on the content creator, the Premier League with that squad. The problem that I have is we are, even in our analysis of removing somebody or dropping a player, we are overzealous and over-exaggerate how big or how long-term that improvement is going to be. Sticking with Ten Hag is trying to develop a style of play here. We're trying to play more openly. We're trying to play more expansively. Where I think he's gone wrong, and we've got a guy on our show, I don't know if the plagiarize Sunshine, that's mentioned this, and I think he's called it absolutely right. With changing the goalkeeper, trying to improve the defense a little bit, trying to improve the midfield a little bit, trying to improve the attack a little bit, we've left ourselves weak still in every area, where what he maybe should have done is remained a bit more pragmatic like last season and gone, do you know what? The budget this year, we're improving the front line and we're going to add 25, 30 more goals to this team. And then next summer, maybe you say, right, now we're going to spend that next £200 million on a goalie and centre-backs. And you're doing section by section rather than trying to strengthen a little bit of every area at once. And for me, that's probably the best piece of analysis that I have heard so far that explains why we've bought some decent players, we've changed our style of football, and there's still holes in this team. I'm hearing people say that Casemiro and Varane don't want to run because they're only here for a paycheck. Maybe. I'm not quite buying that as an example. I'm even hearing people say, kind of defending the manager, he's being forced into playing Bruno and Rashford. I don't necessarily think so. I actually wouldn't mind Rashford being dropped. The big question is, who medium to long term could play in 10 games and maybe deliver more than Rashford's capable of? I don't think there's anyone. And this is the issue that we have, is that because we didn't strengthen one area, and I got this wrong, I thought we did it well in the summer. My feeling in the summer was I think we've done a good job. Hindsight's lucrative. That's our mistakes. I have a feeling the manager is heading towards the sack, though. I'm not advocating for the sack right now. When I calm down after games, I'm not advocating for it. I think he's going to do it. And although in the short term, we might get a new manager come in, we get a bounce and the football looks nicer, all the players get a clean slate, all the negative fans online become positive for a while and it feels good, I just get a feeling that if we don't address the root cause issues that you've mentioned, that I brought up, in 18 months, with me and you are back here on this show talking about the exact same thing. And that's my biggest fear in this. It isn't that we're playing badly. It's that we're playing badly, but I feel sacking the manager, selling a few of the players we dislike, will have absolutely zero impact on improving us. Why? Because that's been our pattern for a decade. And I'm genuinely fearful of it, of doing an action like that and there being zero improvement at the end of it, genuinely.
Look, you're spot on. You're spot on. Look, I mean, the problem is I think you need so much to happen, and it's like, what happens first? I think you do need someone to come in and bring a style of play that is going to pacify the United fans at the moment. I'll be honest. Listen, I can't be contradictory. I've sat on with rants. I've sat on with Saeed, big Man United fans with big channels, and sat there and said, I don't know what man you are, Terry. Like, I watch Man United. I don't know what you're trying to be. I don't know what he's doing. The football doesn't seem to be evolving each week. And the fact that the guy's been here for 18 months now, just under 18 months. What I'm seeing from Man U now is what I would expect with a manager coming in, picking up someone else's squad, and right at the beginning of their tenure. I don't expect this from a manager like Ten Hag 18 months into his Man United career, when he's got a lot of players that apparently he's wanted. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I'm not a United fan, but you're looking at some big signings, excuse me, in key areas. You've replaced your number one goalkeeper. You've replaced Lissandro has gone in instead of whoever else was playing with Varane at the back. He's gone and bought Amrabat, Casemiro, Mount. He's got a new midfield three in there. Eriksen, four of them. He's got Anthony as a right-sided forward. He's got Højlund as his striker. This is now overwhelmingly his team, his tactics. I think that I don't know what it will do right now, sacking him. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm not sure what it'll do right now. You've got to get that director of football. You've got to get somebody in that is going to acknowledge that it's not just about going and slapping down the most amount of money on 65 million on Mount, 50 million, whatever on Onana, but actually going out and scouting players for a manager's philosophy And I just feel you're missing that completely. And the worst thing I can say about Man U right now, and I'm not having a dig. I'm in no position. My team
I
don't
can
win
take
anything,
it.
right?
I get it.
But my team don't win anything. I can't sit here and say, but is rival fans though used to look at Man United and we revered Man United. People would talk about going to Old Trafford, and it was like, right, well, let's write that off. Let's write that off. No one's getting 3 points. No one's getting a point at Old Trafford. You didn't play well all the time, but you'd win. Yet there was this aura around your stadium. There was this aura around when you went to away grounds. Now I look at Man U, and 2 weeks ago when you lost to Brighton, people were talking about what's the biggest shock of the weekend. People were going, "Oh, I think Brighton could win." I said, I don't think it's a shock.
It's not a shock. It's not a shock.
And how has it got to the point where Brighton, who 4.5, 5 years ago, whatever, were in the Championship, have now implemented such a good philosophy that they're doing this, and this. And Man United, one of the biggest clubs in world football, seem to be doing this, seem to be going further and further down. So something's not right at the top. It's not right throughout the infrastructure of the club. All the issues you've got with players, like all this stuff with Jadon Sancho, you've had it with Rashford being late for training or whatever, the Anthony stuff, all the Ronaldo nonsense last year, Harry Maguire. It just all seems like everything is not well at Man United. And the odd win seems to pacify the fans that then come out and go, oh my God, it's brilliant again. Look, it's brilliant. And then you lose to Galatasaray and it's terrible again.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You know what's interesting? Mate, listen, there's a lot of there what you've said that I think's spot on. When you said there about the manager having his own players, I agree. Yes, we've got no left back fit at the club. Yeah, I don't think Lindelof is someone that he looks at long term. Everybody else though in that team last night is what I would consider is a Ten Hag player. He's either given them new deals, made them captain, or brought them to the football club. And it's for him to get it right. And in the last 3 matches, I will say that we have tried to play a brand of football that is very different to last year. Higher line, more expansive, more attacking. I think we've tried to do that a number of times this season. And it has been executed terribly. So whether that's he's signed the wrong players or he's gone too soon with still doesn't quite have the players in depth and they haven't learned that style yet to be playing it well enough.
Yeah.
The manager is making mistakes and absolutely should be criticized for that and should be ridiculed for it. And I don't think this notion that he can't be criticized until every player in the squad from top to bottom is one of his own. I completely disagree. With. So I think the criticism there is absolutely right. And you are correct. We used to be a team that was feared. We used to be a team that I don't want to go to Old Trafford. And we built a little bit of that back last season. We lost the opening game of the campaign there, and then we didn't lose again at Old Trafford until Brighton beat us again this season. And we started to build it up. But we are pacified too easy. And I remember winning the Carabao Cup and being happy. I remember talking about signings in the summer. I remember speaking about things that I think would improve us. But always caveated every time with, if we don't get rid of these owners and improve who runs our club, this will fall down. And I think too many Man United fans, like I said at the beginning, they go for this low-hanging fruit, which is if we sack this manager and go and get De Zerbi. Now, De Zerbi's name probably isn't as popular right now because he lost 3 of his last 4 games. But there is this notion of if we sack him and go and get De Zerbi, watch us ball out, watch us kill it. Watch the forgotten footballers, the Van der Beeks and the Martials and the Sanchos kill it. Watch the Rashfords and the Brunos be ostracized and I'll be happy. I just don't believe all of that is going to... You might find Sancho starts to deliver with a new manager. You might find that Rashford don't play as much. But you won't get all those things you want. The club will still make decisions that damage the manager. They won't let him get in what he needs quick enough. There also isn't a director of football, like you say, who helps that manager. You can have the greatest coach in the world, but even the best managers ever, the Peps and the Fergies, they still buy duds. What we need is a recruitment team that sees eye to eye with our manager in terms of what they want. And there might be times where I said, you know what, Ten Hag, I think your player profile's fine, but we shouldn't be buying 1 midfielder, 1 striker, and a goalie. We need to be buying 3 attackers, or we need 3 minutes. Look at Liverpool have done this year. And again, they may not win the league just yet, but they just went out and went, you know what we're spending our money on? We're just improving that midfield. Bang, 4 midfielders.
Brand new midfield.
Maybe that's what we should have done. And again, hindsight's lucrative, and we all can hold our hands up and say we've got things wrong. But the one thing that, even though some people said I was right about the manager, I'd right about Rashford, or I'd right about Sancho, again, for me, that's just it's a micro. It's a small percentage of what's wrong with our club. The overarching element here is we still don't have a plan. We're hearing briefings today to the media that the board fully back the manager. And as soon as you start hearing that, for me, that's the beginning of the end, unless the results start to change and change drastically. That they are already looking at potential sacking. And my biggest fear is that they will sack him. And do you know what? If we went to a De Zerbi, I'd go, do you know what? Stylistically, I think the way De Zerbi plays is what Ten Hag would like to try and achieve. So maybe it'd be fine because he'd be able to take this group of players and get something out of them. But I'd be worried that we'd go and break the bank for a Simeone, who, by the way, is a great manager, but is completely different from Ten Hag, which would mean starting the squad rebuild all over again.